Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michele, Desrocher, and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We're fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey for the last 6 or 7 years. So we're so honored and so grateful to them. So thank you, Folgers. We could not do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justice Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro you just heard. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thanks to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind our logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror and Halloween genre, but can do incredible commission pieces of any kind. So tonight we welcome back Marilynn Hughes. Just love hanging out with Marilynn. She's so much fun and she's so versed. And tonight we're discussing one of her multitude, gazillion books. I'm really not exaggerating. Gotta go to the website. Anyway, The Aliens of the Redemption, the mysterious role of extraterrestrial in salvation history and ancient sacred texts. So get your questions and comments ready. I know you guys always have a whole other world going on in the chat room. Every now and then I catch a glimpse of what's happening. It's you could probably do your own show just with the chat version of the show. But anyway, big thank you. Hello. Just trying to get through everybody. Hello, Dolly. I really always want to break out in song when I say that. Anyway, always happy to see you here. Limited eyes. Oh, these are hard to type. Listen, well, we love you too. Thank you for taking the time. Okay, making down our way. Yay, Folgers. Yes. Yeah, we're very fortunate for Folgers. And okay, who did I miss? Heidi. I think hello, Heidi. Hello. And I think okay, we're getting there. Kathy, hello. Gosh, you guys are just awesome. Thank you. Hello, Michael. All right. Okay, so I think we're good to go. Yeah. Anyway, please remember we are on Roku TV streaming tonight, Rumble, X. We are on 3 different YouTube channels, 2 different Facebook channels. There is a chat room for everything aside from Roku, and I can only do one at a time. They all come in. I'll flash up your comments like I always do, but again, if there's any questions, I'll flag them. And just because you guys see one specific chat, please know that I'm seeing other chats as well. Okay, so thank you very, very much for your patience as always. Without further ado, thank you, Michael. Without further ado, Marilynn Hughes. Woohoo! How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, a little bit of a cold, but I'm hanging in there. And as long as I can talk, I can always do a show. People are like, but you're sick. Don't you take time off? No. I don't ever take time off. Not if I can help it. So anyway, how are you?
I'm doing good. Good.
Great
to be back here with you and
thank you.
Rapping and talking and
wow. Just hanging out. I love the hanging out. That's awesome. I enjoyed the book. I did. My sick brain was kind of going, how am I going to absorb this? Because I'm not as sharp, as I usually am with taking things in and just dissecting it and going, yeah, I know where she's going with this. This time I'm kind of like, Okay, Marilyn will help me. So
We'll help each other.
we'll help each other. I love it. I love it. So we it kind of gets a bit funky because we have people who are just like, nope, no aliens, nope, nothing. This is the way it is, and that's all. People have their own ideas as to, what their role, if anything. And those who do really believe and who are versed in that sort of thing will say, yes, they were there. But then you get into the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever the case may be. And you seem to touch on, a different side of things because you're going in astrally.
Right,
You're
right,
seeing things for what it is.
right. Well, and that's very true. The thing about it is, I'm not going in there, looking for trouble, with
Right.
the extraterrestrials. And and I'm not looking for extraterrestrials. It's just something where because of just the nature of my unique calling, I'm taken in there and shown things that I usually don't expect to see. And this is another one of those lovely adventures. And so the thing that I think can kind of simplify this for people, and this is the book we're talking about, The Aliens of the Redemption.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
The mysterious role of extraterrestrials in salvation history and ancient sacred texts, is I think that, one of the quick ways to kind of summarize is that people complicate it too much for themselves, and they forget that it's really not that much different than what we experience on Earth, except we're expanding into other worlds. So just like if you just take it back to a few hundred years to when Columbus is, discovering, the new continents and all these things, we're just doing the same thing. And everything is very similar. You have good and evil. You have mortal realms, you have higher realms, you have lower realms, you have beings who have good intentions, you have beings of a higher order, you have beings of an order that is similar to what we are, which means that they're, mortal beings who have both elements of good and evil within them, and that they have within their own species both good and evil within them. And then you also have beings who have bad intentions. And so it's all of those things, just like it is within our own world when you're going worldwide and traversing all the different, species and all the different areas of humanity. And if you look throughout human history, that's what you find. That it's not that different. It's just that we are taking it further out now, going beyond off-world,
Yeah, but I like that.
Yeah, but we're taking it into kind of an interesting thing in the Aliens of the Redemption too, which I think you touched on, which is that a lot of what I deal with in here and what I was shown in this book were things that are forgotten to us in human history that were actually intentionally seeded within humanity to kind of help us along spiritually. And I'm sure that there was more to that. I'm sure there was more in terms of, helping us along as a species. But we're focusing primarily on the things that were done spiritually and things that were forgotten, things that have been forgotten to us that we no longer remember, that's no longer part of our histories. And that these things still have importance. And there's a reason to bring it back up to our memory. You know what I mean? By doing so, it helps us to bring back something of our human history that has a certain thrust of our spiritual understanding of who we are, where we come from, and actually going into some of this deeper spiritual understanding that's kind of important, you know.
It is, and it's a lot deeper than people realize
Yes.
on the grand scheme of things,
Yes.
because like I always say, like, we're not the first kick at the can here as
Right.
far as this this, I won't say generation, but this creation of humanity. I mean, the planet is considerably older, and there have been many more who have come before us, and some from other
Worlds.
yes, exactly. So,
Some who have been forgotten, who did great things that have been
yes,
forgotten to
yes,
us.
yes, absolutely. To us, I thought that's a big cruel joke. Okay, you're coming back. You got to get it right this time, but you don't know, you can't remember anything. You're not gonna be allowed to do that. And it's like, well, how do we know what we have to get right? You figure it out. Okay. So I mean, when you can't even figure out your own journey, it's really hard, and you have a lot working against you, because there's a reason so much information, so much history has been kept from us, or it's been changed around, or whatever the case may be. I mean, when you're going and doing astral projection, you could see timelines, you can see pretty much everything dimensionally, whereas when you're here in the physical, if a timeline has done its thing, you're kind of like, and get the whole Mandela effect thing going. You're kind of like, I'm pretty sure this wasn't like that before. When did this change? It's really hard. We have the odds are stacked against us. I guess that's where I'm going with this. Right.
Right. And going probably to like the most obvious thing, I think, which is, I believe it's where the book begins. It's been a while since I've
Yes.
written this book. But this book begins in a scene where I'm taken into the deep desert and shown some of these ancient sacred texts that are lying and lingering in this desert corridor. And some of them are from Zoroastrian texts. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to focus right now for just a moment on this part of it, where, which is something that will never leave me, because it was just so vivid, with Nefertiti. And I'm taken in to see, and I'm seeing this golden field of pyramids, and I see this holy field of something that has been lost to our history. And it's something about a Nefertiti cult. It's something that she brought in that we no longer have in our records anymore. Hi. And I'm experiencing it, vibrationally. I'm experiencing the frequency of it. And that, but I don't know it yet, because before I realize we're talking about the Nefertiti cult, I see this person coming on a chariot, and I don't know who it is. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's Nefertiti. Yes. And it's just this amazing moment. And I see her, and she's just stunning, and she stops, and it's like, you recognized me. That's good. And then I'm feeling all of this, and I'm like, so there's something that's forgotten. And and she's like, good. I want you to remember. And I'm seeing this across the ancient Egyptian desert. And, I've been putting together a lot of videos and films of my screenplays, and there is a video of this vision. So you can go back there and find it. But it was just so stunning to experience, because I felt the holiness of it. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, it kind of threw me for a loop, because, I'm personally Catholic, but it was like what I was experiencing was groundbreakingly holy. And I was like, wow, there is something here that Nefertiti, this cult, and there were all these experiences that I had for many years before that kind of came to a culmination in this moment. Like, for instance, when I had gone through these ritual rites of passage to receive my wings, and it was like I had to receive the Nefertiti wings. And I was like, why would they be called the Nefertiti wings? And there were all these references to Nefertiti. And I'm like, she's an ancient Egyptian queen. Why would that be? And it all comes to culmination in this moment. And I'm feeling the holiness of this. And it's so profoundly holy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm seeing all the papyrus that has been lost. And I'm trying to grab it and touch it. And, and I'm touching it. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm like, I just want so badly to be able to bring it back. You'll bring it back. But the best I'm going to be allowed to do is bring back the fact that there was this ancient cult, this Nefertiti cult that was extremely holy, and that it was lost to history. And that's all I was going to get to remember. And that it was this amazing, golden field across the ancient Egyptian desert. And that I could feel that vibration, experience that vibration, and know there was so much more to this history that we will never know unless it is revealed to us somehow. Someday.
Yes. And how much of it gets turned around? Like when you think that she was married to really Amenhotep IV, who was and became Akhenaten, and everybody blames Akhenaten for changing everything. So from what you're saying, it most likely was under the guidance of Nefertiti, under the cult of Nefertiti.
Well, I don't know if that was the case, but it seems to me like there was more to all of it. Hi, Bruce. It was more to all of it. I think that, Akhenaten, it's interesting because we have three great monotheistic religions that emerge all around the same time. You have Judaism, you have Zoroastrianism, and you have Akhenaten in ancient Egypt trying to create a monotheistic religion with Nefertiti in ancient Egypt, all around the same period of time. And of course, with Akhenaten, it was very short-lived. As soon as they died, they were erased. They tried to erase them completely. And now we know, at least it was shown to me, and I experienced this, and I believe that there was more to it that was erased. There was much more erased than we know. And it was really important what was erased. And this goes again to the extraterrestrials.
Yes.
Because part of what you're going to read about in the book, The Aliens of the Redemption, is, in the Zoroastrian religion, you're going to see the Farakar, which is very, very much, very clearly the possibility of extraterrestrial origin. There's all kinds of stuff that I present in the book indicating the possibilities in relation to Nefertiti and Akhenaten and their children having extraterrestrial origin. And then, of course, with ancient Judaism, there's all kinds of things that happen in the Old Testament, the most obvious being with Ezekiel, but there's all kinds of things that are happening throughout the Old Testament where there is ample evidence to indicate the possibility that there is intervention coming from other worlds, possibly. So we have both, divine intervention and the possibility of intervention from other worlds at the same time.
Just look at some of the ancient art where it's got UFOs or extraterrestrials. The crucifixion of Jesus, you see the craft in the sky in that painting.
Yes, and I believe there's one of the Blessed Mother as well, where there is that as well.
Yes. There's several. So there's got to be something said for that. But it's strange because when most people nowadays, and it is because of lost knowledge, but when you say you had this really holy feeling when it comes to Nefertiti and Akhenaten, most people would say, what holy feeling?
Right.
Much like yourself. It's a king, it's a queen, and a lot of people don't realize that one of their daughters ended up, because again, the Celts were. They did go down that far. And she ended up being Scotia, right? Going into Ireland. And that's where she's buried. And she was the daughter of
Right.
Akhenaten.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't realize that, like, that's something that's not widely known. Some people know it. You know, you go to her grave site and you'll see a cartouche, you'll see all kinds of things, and that's out in like Ireland. People are just like, they don't realize the connections and all of this history, what it really, really was.
Right. I totally, yes. Yes. And that, God uses people all the time, and I think that was one of the things that came through very loud and clear in that particular vision. And there was also the very self same energy around the Zoroastrian texts in the same vision, where they were hovering in this other corner and just emanating another otherworldly holiness that was extremely profound. And it struck me just as much as it probably strikes other people when I saw Nefertiti, and it was like, well, here she is, and I have no question, no doubt at this moment, because it's being presented to me and I see it, that this is someone who did something very holy, and it's being downloaded into me, and I'm feeling it and understanding this on some level, but it also on the earthly level is like, huh?
Yeah, like the rest of us. I was like, what?
Yeah. It's like, how does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But then this is part of the whole process of seeking,
Mm-hmm.
is being willing to be taught. It's kind of one of the first principles that I talk about in some of my first books, which is be willing to be taught, be teachable. Hi, Spooky. Excellent selection of texts to be reading. So it's be teachable, because, and what I mean by being teachable is that you have to be able to realize that your prior perception of reality might not be correct, and in order for you to progress, you may have to let go of certain ideas, be willing to consider new ideas in order to progress, in order to move forward. And if you are unable to do that, you may not be teachable, and then it becomes, you're not going to be as receptive to that Holy Spirit coming in to mold and guide, because you have too strong an idea that the way that you believe is the only truth, and therefore you can't be taught. So you want to be teachable. Means you can be wrong, and it's okay if you're wrong, and you're open to being led and guided elsewhere. Because if you are a true seeker, you will be led and guided all over the place. Start somewhere where you start at the age of 20 is not where you will be at the age of 60. You're going to be a long way from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you got to do what you got to do when you can do it.
Exactly.
Better late than never, but
right. Yeah, because that's how the movement of the spirit works. I know, like one of the things that I always remember very clearly, that I think is a good thing to say for people to kind of peruse, is something that the angels would say to me. They would say, go take a little walk in the movement today. And that's a very important directive. They're talking about stepping into the flow of the spirit. And that's actually a visible thing in the mystical realm. And that's where we actually learn, where we actually become, where the frequency, the vibration is altered, where things happen. You know what I mean? Hi, Steve. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Once you go to walk in
because
the
you get to see it, but you get to see it firsthand.
Mhm.
I always say you're taking a shortcut, Marilyn, because you're just getting right to the source.
Yes.
I mean, here it makes it really, really difficult because there is a way that things are, or a
Mhm.
way that things are accepted, and
Mhm.
it's really tough to get people to open their mind up to a lot more. I mean, I've had people say things like, "Well, I can talk about ghosts, but aliens are a whole other thing." Like, okay, but even though they really have been around in the grand scheme of things long before, this incarnation, this of all of us, human beings here on the planet in this time,
Right.
you know.
Right. Yes. Mhm.
So I don't know. It's all in our ancient lore, and this is what I like about the indigenous. They have oral history. Many ancient cultures had oral history, and maybe that's part of the problem. Because it was oral history, so it's not easily found.
Right. Well, and in most of those Native American tribes, they do have the understanding of the star beings and where they came from,
Yeah.
and their origin stories and, from the star people. And,
Hmm.
I really personally really appreciated the work of Zechariah Sitchin, and he did such a massive undertaking with, the 12th Planet series and then all of his other work
Yeah.
where he really did the archaeology. I know that there's a lot of people say whatever they want to say about whether or not he did the right kind of archaeology. I
Hmm.
personally liked him a lot and felt that he did
Yes.
amazing work. And and the type of understandings that he brought to us about the possible origins of our human race here, and how we were seeded and how these things came to be, and how they continue. And we do know, and I guess what you're getting at is that there are a lot of people who may not know this, and so they don't necessarily agree to that. But we do know that we have continuing contact with many, 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 many thousands of people around the world all the time, and that's all part of the same process, because we are being watched by these civilizations. And even beyond the work I did in this particular book, when I first started having these experiences, these out of body experiences, early on, I started having beautiful experiences with different, extraterrestrial races. And so I learned early on that it was very important to understand that there was this role that they were playing, and as like kind of overseers over us, over our evolution. There were also some troublemakers, and they're
Hmm.
just like everything. You got both, you got everything. But there's all these different you know races. There's all these different civilizations, many of
Hmm.
whom are much further advanced than we are. And that's part of the reason that they are involved, with helping,
Hmm.
to try to try to help with the evolution of our particular species and humanity in our world. I was taken to the galactic councils. And so um, this is like something that is not new. It's like as old as time itself. It's probably as old as Earth itself. You know what I mean? As it's old as the very first seeding of our planet Earth. You know what I mean? It probably
Yes.
goes
Yes.
all the way back.
Mm.
And I think it also is helpful for people to consider. It's not like we're talking about one type of extraterrestrial. We're actually talking about many, many different worlds, So we're talking about many different types of beings, like, many people talk about the grays and stuff, but we're also talking about Pleiadians. We're talking about Alpha Centaurians. We're talking about different races that I've experienced who don't tell me where they're from, but they're from worlds that are so far beyond us. They're just beautiful and unbelievably, if I had the chance or the opportunity to go there in a flash, I would take it.
Right.
They're just that where they, but I don't qualify because you have to have a certain level of evolution you have to be in a space. They're just so beyond us. The worlds that they have created are so evolved into love and light, but beyond that, even just saying that sounds so like
it sounds cliche, but realistically,
yes.
it's very much a thing. You should see me when I'm road raging. I'll be blah, 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 and I'll go love and light. I'm passing that stuff around after I'm griping, but it's like, it's either that or you just get agitated. So in my head, I'm just like, love and light, love and light. So it's cliche, but I think that is what. Do you think? Because I'm of the mind where they really are trying to project that this is our evolution, the pathway to opening the door to our evolution is having this awakening, spirituality, having this intense, love and within us, being able to embrace our abilities. Like we weren't just put here, like dropped here and said, fend for yourself. Like
Right.
It was built into us and somehow it was conditioned out of us.
Yes. And it has become so cliche that it's like when you try to say, these worlds of love and light, it just sounds, it doesn't explain what it is. And when you're there, it's just so wonderful there. But you have to qualify, and we don't. That's why we're here, and
yeah.
and they're trying to help us to reach higher spaces with that. And part of what what this is doing in terms of even bringing up these ancient things that were done for our humanity is to awaken inside of us this ancient yearning to remember what it is we're here for. It really does come down to this spiritual purpose and this love that is the essence of God, and that we have to take in and encompass more and more and more of it, and move into that more and more and more. We have to become more and more of that love and light.
Mm-hmm.
And humanity really struggles to understand what that means. And we see that all the time because people think that means fighting and arguing over, who's more virtuous and who's more right and who's more righteous. That isn't it at all. They're completely doing something else, and so we're struggling all the time with these ideas of wanting to be better or more than our brother and our sister, when in reality, what it is that we're striving for is to be equal to one another, and in the sense of loving one another. And this love has to come to us. It only comes from one place, and that is God, because God is love. He is that love, and that is an energy, and we have to bring that within ourselves. And when and as we do, that actually transforms our understanding. It transforms who and what we are. It transforms our vibration, our frequency, and it changes everything inside. We begin to have more of an internal reckoning, I guess you'd say. We begin to realize there is a state of being that also sounds cliche, but yeah, very true, Kathy, who says unconditional love and light within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's so true. But what that means is such a profound depth. When you experience it mystically, when you experience it in the out-of-body travel state, it is so different than what we experience here.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more all-encompassing. And I apologize if I'm kind of just going around in circles with it, but it's just the big thing that is so hard for us to grasp on Earth.
It's your show. Take it any way you want. So that's okay. No, I completely understand. I think that we tend to miss the message, or it's hard to imagine because there is so much fear that's put out there when it comes to, again, extraterrestrials or terrestrials in general, or multidimensionals, interdimensionals. I mean, you can get into so many different, variations. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of fear that's put out there. So it's very hard for people to sit there and think that you're thinking of one of these beings and going, love and light, what are you talking about? Because it's a physical conditioning again. And to think that, well, they were a part of our ancient past and beyond. I mean, but people yet can embrace the idea of the Anunnaki, which is, the ancient Sumerian texts and things like that. So, I don't know. Are they just starting to realize that maybe there was more than just the ancient Anunnaki?
Well, when you bring up the interdimensionals and the multidimensionals, and these beings are there, whether or not people realize it or not, or whether they recognize it or acknowledge them or not, they just are there. And I think it's kind of similar to how people say, well, what'll happen if I start having out-of-body experiences? Will I not be able to get back to my body? And it's like, well, you're already having the experiences. You're just becoming aware of having them, right? This is the same thing. As you awaken and you become more aware of things, it's not like these things aren't all around us all the time. It's just you're becoming aware now. So you become able to see this. And so the idea that somehow saying no, that's evil, that's bad, and I want to be careful about this because there are evil things,
Yeah,
that's
good
kind
people,
of
bad people,
for another night. But
but good people, bad people, good races of ET, bad races. I mean, it's a thing. It's the yin and the yang, the balance.
That's more of a discussion for like when we're talking about the demonic and the dark and everything. But the reality is that the extraterrestrials are moving through and among and in interdimensionally, but so are the guardian angels, so are lots of angelic beings, spiritual teachers, even animal spirits. They move through the spiritual ethers unaware, to people unawares all the time too. And so what happens is people just think that by saying no, I don't acknowledge, that they just stop existing. They don't just stop existing. They're just there. Just like, the fact that people have these experiences, they just choose or are not able to be conscious of them. I remember one of the people who communicated to me after they had a near-death experience, and this person, because a lot of people with near-death experiences develop spiritual gifts afterwards. And this person developed the spiritual gift of being able to see spiritual presences when he returned. And he told me that it freaked him out for a while because he would see some people had guardian angels next to him. Some people had demons near them. And he would see nurses in the hallway, and they had little demons running around them, and it freaked him out. So we had these conversations, and I was like, well, this is important for you to realize. They were already there. You just became aware that these principalities and powers, and these were more of the lower grade, not the actual principalities and powers, which are higher level, but these types of beings, both of the persuasion of good and evil, are around people all the time. But now you see it. And so now you have this gift, and now because it's been given to you as a gift, you want to cultivate it so that you can learn to use this gift in a good way. So when we're talking about the aliens and the extraterrestrials, in becoming aware of them, what we want to do is the same thing. There are, for instance, like in this particular book, The Aliens of the Redemption, the purpose of most of this book is about, these ancient things that have been forgotten. And so these are things that we are like just bringing back to our memory to give us kind of like sacred memory back to our spirit. But there are also other things, I've written other books about, I've written other books like in the Mystic Knowledge series about extraterrestrial experiences I've had. But I also have a book that specifically lays out, all the different extraterrestrial races I've seen, who they are, what they are. And there's another one where I lay out the hierarchies really clearly, and I think I did that a little bit in the Aliens of Redemption.
You did the whole angelic hierarchy.
Okay, yeah.
Which was great. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more than you think.
Yeah, and I think we did I did the angelic hierarchy in here, and then in another book I also did the extraterrestrial hierarchy, laying out all the different different beings that I've seen and that other people have seen and things like this. But going into that even more, and see, part of the reason this is so important and helpful is for a variety of reasons, because a lot of the beings that are helping us are a variety of spiritual persuasions. So some of them are where they might have more of an angelic nature, but there are also extraterrestrial beings who are performing the work of angels in the human race. And so just like you also have other types of spiritual beings that are not angelic or extraterrestrial, but they are of a different order of being, and they perform things for the purpose of the evolution of the human race. Like, for instance, the thought adjusters, and I think that might be mentioned in the hierarchies. If it's not mentioned in there, it's mentioned in some other more in-depth works. But the thought adjusters are a different order of being where they could be considered. You could say, okay, they're in the angelic kingdom, sure, but they're really not. They are a different order of being. And what they do is they work with the thoughts of humankind in their sleeping, and they help us to make adjustments so that we are working towards an evolution in our thinking. And they're doing this all the time. I mean, it's amazing what they do. It's fascinating. But there are, let me see here if I can pull out a few just to have some fun with it here.
Yeah. 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 I mean, there's so many of them in servitude.
Oh yeah.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
you have like, you have masters of philosophy, conductors of worship. These are the Supernafim.
Mhm.
Now this is coming from Angels in the Urantia book, which is actually a book that is said to have been brought in by extraterrestrial spirits, you know.
Wow.
And yeah, and these are the custodians of knowledge, the directors of conduct, interpreters of ethics, chiefs of assignment, instigators of rest, the secondary Supernafim, pilgrim helpers, supremacy guides, trinity guides, sun finders, father guides, counselors and advisors, complements of rest. And, you know, in here, you're just going to get a little bit of an overview on these. And then you'll see, like in here, there's a comparison that's made between the biblical theology on angels, the extraterrestrial theology from the Urantia book,
Mhm.
and then also Emanuel Swedenborg, who was a mystic in the Middle Ages, and also the angels in Zoroastrianism, because it's very fascinating to compare and contrast them. But, you know, I had this amazing vision, and one of the reasons I'm always telling people, read the Urantia book, read the first section of it, because I had this amazing vision, and I had many amazing visions about the Urantia book, but I was taken up into one of the highest heavens, and I was surrounded by these huge angels with these magnificent wings, at least 5 of them. And they were all around me, and they gave me this book, and they had me look at it and had pictures and pictures and pictures of all the different orders of angels. And I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Where is this book? I have to know what this book is, you know? And they told me it was the Urantia book, and they told me you should read it. I read it word for word, cover to cover. But they told me that the hierarchy of the angels was described in that first section. And it's actually the first 2 sections of the Urantia book. And it's a very, you know, intense read, because it was given to this gentleman in the early 1900s. I think it was around 1911. And he received, he's remained anonymous. I think most people believe it was a William Sadler, who was a doctor at the time.
Yes.
But he received it from extraterrestrial spirits who were trying to teach him how the outer universe worked. And it shows you how these ministering spirits actually work. And so why is this important to us? It's because if people are freaked out by the way the mechanics of existence operate, if they are afraid of that, they will become unteachable. They will not be able to receive the influx from the divine and the Holy Spirit's maneuverings in trying to assist them here. And we must remember, you know, this life here is a mortal life. It is a short life. We are here for a short time, and we are here for a reason. We don't want to waste it. I remember several times I had been told by angels by my bed, they said, your life here is short. Do not waste it. And they would be very intense. Do not waste it. You know, our time here is short. We are here to refine our vibration and our frequency, and to bring that spiritual life into physical matter, into our physical understanding. There is some importance to this process. We have to do this purification process in order to get to the next level that we all want to get to. Because everybody says, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to come back. I don't want to do this again. And so we have to do that. But in order to do that, we cannot be afraid of the process by which it is done, by which it is accomplished. So we cannot be afraid of it. And this comes through all manner of things. It comes through these aliens who came, several thousand years ago, and fascinating information that they gave. It's a fascinating journey, but it also comes from the amazing revelation given to probably William Sadler in 1911, and through each one of us as the Holy Spirit tries to move through. But if we are afraid of that spirit, then we can't be taught.
It's tough because they'll tell you that Earth is like one of the most difficult places to have to learn this lesson, this planet.
Yes, it can be.
Yeah, it's rough. It can be really rough.
It can be rough, but we still have to do it. There's no other alternative, in the sense of, if there might be other alternatives, but from what we have to learn these things, we have to become these things. And so many of us waste so much time here, and we don't have a lot of time here. And then we have to start all over again. And we don't want to do that, right?
Nobody. Everybody's saying we don't want to come back. Yeah, we don't want to come back. But and you even make mention of Billy Meyer.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah. Yeah, we got Billy Meyer. I mean, I had such a fascinating journey writing this book.
Yes. Yeah, because Billy, I mean, he's a really well-known Palladian experiencer or contactee. Right. And he basically, according to your book, because I'll just quote your book, he states that this was one of the most subtle manners in which the aliens were involved within the redemption processes within the earth and the training up and bringing into incarnation of souls into earthly life to fulfill higher purpose to aid in the purification of souls and their instruction.
Yeah.
That's pretty major.
Yes, exactly. It's funny because we don't realize how much we're all saying the same thing. You know what I mean?
Just different ways. I know.
Yeah, slightly different ways, but we're all kind of getting the same thing. And it's just so fascinating. Yeah. And so Billy's in there, and and I think it's just so fascinating too, because we did talk about how we started back with Zarathustra and Nefertiti, and of course Judaism. But one of the things that I found fascinating was reading the Pahlavi texts. I don't know if I wrote much about the Pahlavi texts in here, but I read a lot about the Pahlavi texts, which are ancient Zoroastrian texts. And when you look at those Pahlavi texts, which are a lot of them are these interesting, visionary texts of souls as they're going through the afterlife process, and they're going through it, and they're talking about their, it's kind of Egyptian-like almost, except it's more Christian sounding, where they're having their souls weighed and they're figuring out what they need to do different and all these things. It's just fascinating stuff. The Pahlavi texts are like about 5 volumes, and it's very intensive stuff. And you realize this stuff is at the beginning, the dawn of civilization. And it's not changed. It's the same. We're doing the same thing. It's the same thing. Even when you look at the writings of, and I wrote a couple books last year, again on the wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus, who again was also at the dawn of time. It's the same message. The mystics touch into the very same God, the very same source, and they're all talking the same. When whether it's when you're reading the writings of a Sufi mystic, a Christian mystic, a Kabbalistic mystic, or an ancient Zarathustran Pavlovi text, if you don't know which religion it comes from, or if you block out, the specific things that identify it, like Ahura Mazda, which is, the Zoroastrian name for God, you would not know. You would think, you'd be like, wow, is this Christian or is this Jewish? What is this? It's very interesting how they're all speaking to this same source, and they're doing the same thing today. Near-death experiencers today are doing the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And and so I find it interesting that that people are nervous about the extraterrestrials, because I guess I would just say, that some of my favorite experiences have been with them. And I actually have, a running joke with a couple of my friends, that, gosh, I hope they just show up and, take me off planet and I can just, be done here.
Marilynn, we're all hoping that. It's getting a little wild out there.
Yeah.
To say the least, But, it's interesting also because in all of the different backgrounds of religion or faith or civilizations, there's so many similarities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have these three that you're comparing, and I'm seeing that pretty much the same thing from each.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So we're not all so different.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious what did you like? What did you pull out of it reading that book when you were reading it? What struck you?
We are one.
Yeah.
It's that simple. We are one. And they're really, it's a whole lot of information. But in the end, I'm looking at the similarities. I'm looking at the hierarchies. I'm looking at the roles. I'm looking at how everything is coming together. But in the end, we are one.
Yeah.
I am. Like, it's just all encompassing. And I think it's because, we've just been so divided with respect to it's the nature of the beast. I mean, this is planet Earth. We all have different backgrounds. We have different upbringings. We have different faiths. We have different, like, everything is different. It's like when you're a kid and you have competition, which creates division. The kid that wins, the kid that doesn't win, the kid that never wins, the kid that always wins. Like, you know what I mean? The division is introduced to us from a very, very early age. And when you really get into the whole meat and potatoes, as I say, in reading your book, you realize, no, it's just all encompassing. It's all one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I don't know. I liked it. It was refreshing just to see that you can go back so far and find, because you do dig and you do find everything. And it's just like, I'm reading all of this. In fact, at one point I'm further down, I'm going, did I not just read this? How did this happen? And I realize it's because it's so similar.
Yeah, it seems like it's the same thing, but it's actually a different text from someone else, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But it was just like, oh my God. All right. So it is different. Oh, kind of. But I really liked it. And I really liked, when you started getting into, like, again, talking about similarities with the Talmud of Emmanuel.
Yes.
Like, boy, was I seeing some, like, similarities there.
Yep.
Right. So that was interesting. And then you get into the three heavens. I'm like, what? Three heavens? We're all fighting for one. And going to the different gates and things like that. So it was all really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah.
So people, there are three heavens.
Well, and according to Judaism, there's 7 levels of heaven. So,
Yes.
I mean, there's all kinds of fun things, to to
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah. The curiosity too is with going back into the Talmud of Emmanuel, and again the similarities, right? And again, I think Billy Meyer actually found, or you quoted something about founding scrolls, in
Yeah, Billy
case it.
Meyer was behind the Talmud of Emmanuel.
Okay.
Someone in the bill, you think it might have been Billy Meyer who found it, or someone in his organization found it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, what in the Talmud of Emmanuel were you intrigued with?
Oh boy. Well, when I'm sitting here reading it, okay, so I can pull it up 1 second as I have it. When being, again, being blamed. So it says right over here, when written, okay, old Aramaic document was buried under flat rock, blah, 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 blah. Author of the scrolls was a contemporary disciple of Emmanuel who was known by the name of Judas Iscariot. I believe that right there, for about 2,000 years. And he was wrongly denounced as a traitor of Emmanuel, although he had nothing to do with that betrayal. The ugly deed was actually carried out by Judah, I think Judas, right off the bat. I'm like, oh. So anyway, so then Emmanuel was no longer seen for 40 days, 40 nights. So you just start getting into this reflection time. And then you start realizing, okay, he actually was not to be seen right again. And he spent his days with the wise saints of God and with the guardian angels, the celestial sons, who taught him wisdom and knowledge. Like, does that not really sound like, certain faith of today, just packaged a little differently?
Which one are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking Catholicism.
Okay.
Christianity. Yes. I said, God, there's just so many little tidbits, of, and even some of the books that aren't available because, to us, unless you get into like the Ethiopian text, the Ethiopian
Right.
Bible, which has the most of everything. Like they took nothing out. So if you really want to see what everything is, you have to go down that route. But, or read one of your books, But I mean, I even think of like the Book of Enoch. It's the same idea. He's walking around and the angels showed him, this or that out of the palm of their hand. It felt a lot to me like something like this, where you see all of this. And when you really get into the Book of Enoch, you start to realize that maybe he was a donor of sorts for hybridization. Just saying, and then he decides, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And okay, up you go. You're coming with us. And then he becomes Metatron. I don't know. It's a wondrous tale. It's a wonderful story. Yeah, the Book of Mormon as well. Yeah, right? For sure. But the stories are like incredible. Then you start to see similarities like what you've done here, cross-referencing everything. You realize, boy, oh boy, the message is the same.
Yes.
However you want to, whatever direction you want to go to find it. But in the end, they're not too far off.
Right. Yes. There's always the similarity and there's always the unity, the end point.
Exactly. So anyway, that was all very exciting for me. And then getting into, the whole part where he starts talking about, going into the palace where God appeared, to Emmanuel, and had two very tall men, never
Yes.
before seen on earth.
Yes.
Wow. That tells you something there as well, right? Their faces shone like the sun. Their eyes look like burning torches. Out of their mouths, issued fire.
Well,
So,
and what does that remind you of too? I mean, isn't that similar to what Ezekiel spoke of in his visions? And
yeah.
his visions, are the ones that are the most likely to have extraterrestrial origin, you know, in the Old Testament. That's the one that's most blatantly likely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's right there. He's just looking at this going, you know,
Yeah.
wait a minute, where have I read something similar to this before? You know,
Right.
like kind of talks about, you know, the you know, these two men and again coming from the seven stars of the Pleiades. Right there, essentially saying, you know,
Right.
there we are. Behold, humans begotten by the celestial sons, right?
Right.
Different, a specific way from other people on earth, like humans. They were not earth humans, but you know, they're children of the celestial angels, but a different kind. And don't even get me started on the comment about giants. And I'm just like going, giant doors and the giants. I'm like, okay, wait. You know, so
Well, and in that, I think in that Talmud of Emmanuel as well, in Billy Meyer's tradition, the story was that the Pleiadians came to Mary. And so, I mean, there's a whole nother story in there as well. Yes. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's interesting as well. And, you know, in my visions, and in fact, I think I made a video of this as well already. I was taken and shown that Jesus came from the Pleiades. And then I also had a vision, a beautiful vision. I'll never forget it, where I was shown the Blessed Mother coming from the Pleiades. And it was beautiful. She came and she was wearing this purple and white gown, golden gilded crown. And I did not immediately recognize her because she had come out from underneath a spacecraft, and she came out from the spacecraft, and everybody was referring to her as the Lady in Light. And I kept wanting to get closer to her and closer to her. And when I came up to her, I was like, oh my God, you're the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I realized, oh my gosh, she came from the Pleiades.
It's sort of like like I said, goes spinning back to the ancient paintings that we've seen that have been done like hundreds of years ago, and they have crafts in there while she's holding her child.
Right, right, and so you got to wonder what was the thing, because we have these artists, right? We have the painters, and so the painters. I can only guess that the painters probably received some type of revelatory experience that, you know, drew them to do those paintings in that way, or they had a vision, or they heard something from some, you know, or text or something that, you know, because a lot of times in those painters, you know, they're reflecting something that they have either been told or that they have read in the text, or that is, you know, word of mouth, the oral tradition, or, you know, artists are very often people who receive.
Da Vinci.
Yep.
He disappeared in the cave for 2 weeks and came back more brilliant and artistic than he was. I don't know. Right? Like, where did he go for 2 weeks and just disappeared?
Right. Yep. Yes.
I don't know. But I mean, you know, there's going to be a lot of opinions out there based on belief systems. You know, if you've got somebody who's a contactee or someone who has had out-of-body experiences, such as yourself, I know many people who come back with some similar stories. So there's something to it all. You know, do you tend to be made privy to more? You see more because you're off in spirit form, in your energy form, not your physical form. So that gives you that edge to be able to see things within the ethereal world that many people don't.
Well, and a lot of times you're given the opportunity to see things in its energetic truth, so to speak. And so like seeing those things about, you know, like the origin, and all I can do really is say, like, I can't say what the truth of it is in terms of like when I was shown that Jesus came from the Pleiades, or I can only share what I saw, and I can't,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it's your
disputing
personal experience.
personal experience, exactly, and I'm not disputing any of
Yes,
the teachings of the church.
good.
And it's important that I
Yeah,
say that because I'm not.
sure.
It's just a personal experience, but at the
Oh, you're
same
one of the more spiritual, like godly people that I know. So, no, I know that. No, but I mean, like you're very, very, you're very connected because when you talk about the Holy Mother and you talk about God, when you talk about Jesus, you get very emotional, and that tells me there's a very strong connection.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, well, the other part of it too, I think that's important, and is something I did have a couple of visions about was the importance of the balance, which is that it's not what I was shown. It's not like Zechariah Sitchin kind of went one direction where, okay, so everything was extraterrestrials. And it's like, no, that wasn't it either.
Mhm.
There was a combination of these things in the Old Testament and the New Testaments. There was real experiences that people had with God, along with these extraterrestrial encounters that were going on with civilization and human beings. And so it was both. And so I think that sometimes what happens is people try to make it one or the other. And it's really important that we always remember that you don't want to box these things in like that, because there are angels, there are real angels that are divine, beings of that divine order. And there are extraterrestrials who are extraterrestrials, and they are of that type of creation. And there's all sorts of other, amazing things, and so it's important not to get, try to box it in and, oh well, if Ezekiel was seeing something that was extraterrestrial, then all of it must be. And that's kind of something that you'll see like in Zechariah Sitchin's work, where he tried to make everything extraterrestrial.
Mm.
And it wasn't. It was,
Yes.
there was both. And that's kind of the way it is in our lives as well. And I definitely experienced that in my experiences, that there's these beautiful, divine, holy things, as well as these beautiful, divine, holy, extraterrestrial experiences. Hey, and it's and I've also had experiences with extraterrestrials that were, where I was warned about other kinds of extraterrestrials
You've had
that were
that.
not divine and holy. And careful
Yeah.
of these ones, because there are ones that are not the divine and holy kinds. So, you have that too. And so I think it's important to realize that
There's
there's
a
a
mix
real
of everything.
cosmology going
Yeah.
on,
For sure. I think we also need to realize that our creator would not have just limited. I mean, if you
Exactly.
create a universe, you're not going to create just little old us on just little old planet Earth.
Right, exactly.
And it's
He's a
so much
creative.
more.
Our creator
Yeah.
is very creative. He's a busy guy. If you just look at what he's created
Yeah.
just in our world.
Yes.
I
Oh,
mean,
bless you.
thank you. Hold on, I'm going to do it again. I think, maybe not. But if you just think about what he's created just on our planet in terms of how many species and just the creativity of our God on this planet. And to think that this is, think about that in terms of then what you're going to see in the spiritual world. And then just multiply that by about 1 million or more, because that's what people are kind of missing, I think, is our creator is extremely creative.
on different levels. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what I try to explain to people who just like, well, I don't believe in extraterrestrials. I'm just like, well, so you're limiting. You're saying that our creator is just limited in his abilities and does not go past this planet, this rock that we sit on, essentially. And then they think about it. I'm just like, no, I mean, the Almighty, the all-knowing, the all everything is not going to limit himself to the kids who can't play nice in the sandbox, and he's got a whole hierarchy of beings trying to teach us. It's just, there's
Well,
more. There's the
for those
teachers too.
people, I'll just say this again. I've said it a lot, so I hope I'm not being repetitive. But
Go crazy.
I had this really cool experience years and years and years ago when I was taken into one of the heavens, and I was just hanging out in this beautiful heaven in the galactic spheres, beyond the black hole, and you travel through all these cool tunnels and things. You're going through the swirling stars, through the holographic images, and then through the stained glass windows into the heavens, and it's just a very galactic place, and I was just hanging out, doing things, and seeing lots of people and lots of beings and stuff and everything. And then when I finally came back, I woke up and I was like, wait a minute. There were extraterrestrials in heaven. And I just was like laying in bed for a while, and I was like, wait a minute, over there and over there and over there. And it was like, I just realized, oh my gosh, there's extraterrestrial spirits in heaven. There was people, there was just, it was all the people of Earth and all the people of the universe. And they were not people, they were all kinds of races and species. But the reason I didn't notice it when I was in heaven is because it was normal there. And so when I came back, I was immediately like, oh, wait a minute, because it was so normal when you're there, because that's the way it is there. But when you wake up here, you're like, wait a minute, that's not normal. But right. It is normal there. So
it is normal. I mean, are we not all looking like there's a saying that said, if you start to look at people, as beings of light instead of physical people, that you would have a much different opinion all the way around. It has to apply to other races. We're all energy. There's a plant has a life force. A tree has a life force. A bug, an animal, everything has life. Water
even
has life.
Even rocks, even inanimate objects have consciousness. And that's one thing you learn in the out-of-body travel state, is that all things have consciousness. And I think one of the things you also learn in the out-of-body travel state is to learn to appreciate diversity in its true sense, not in the way that we all screwed up in this world. I want to shake the hand of the Flatwoods Monster too.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like you learn to appreciate the beauty of difference. And so like when you're out in the out-of-body travel spheres, but even then, even it becomes more and more a part of you in this world, where, except I'm going to say, it still hasn't worked for me with bugs. Sorry. But
if you look at them like little light beings, Marilynn.
I know, but I haven't gotten there yet. But, I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I still have a problem. But it's you see this in you just start seeing, it's like, wow, look at that. That's so cool. As you just start seeing how it's just the beauty of creation. Yes. And that it's this, I don't know what it is about us as humans in our inability to appreciate that difference, that but it's a beautiful
diverseness of everything.
Because
we're creatures of habit.
I guess so. But I mean, God would not be much of a creator if he made everything exactly alike. Now, come on, think about that. I mean, I know. Look at all the beautiful creatures that God has created on Earth, and then think about what he could do with, all the species of extraterrestrial life in the universe, and think how cool that is.
I think it's outstanding.
You're right. We are too self-focused. You're absolutely right.
We are
full of ourselves, and it makes us not able to see or appreciate the vastness of life itself,
Mm.
you know,
Mhm.
life itself. And so,
It's true.
but there is something that happens to us in the out of body travel state when we just start seeing how everything is imbued with the force of consciousness. So, you know, all life is filled with life, but everything is consciousness.
Mhm.
You're right, Wayne. We are too absorbed with the material world.
So,
And there
and,
is
and having out of body experience, you're not in a physical anymore.
no, you're not. And you become, you know, it's interesting because in the out of body experience, you know, you leave your body, and usually there's something that you're being drawn towards, and you put that focus and that attention. You want to see it, you want to see everything about it, you
Mhm.
want to remember it. And so your attention is and your focus is you start training it from the very beginning. You're training, you're disciplining your focus and your attention to observe things of a spiritual nature from the
Mhm.
very beginning. And then as you continue doing it, that's what you're doing. You're learning to train yourself to see the spiritual that's hidden beneath, behind, you know, to look for those things rather than the mundane. And that's partly what, you know, it's just one of the things that's happening to you that is changing
Mm.
you, you know, underneath it all, you know, among the many.
Yeah, Polly says, I think our personal issues also change our frequencies and moods, making contact more difficult, coming
That's true.
from a contactee with
That's
desert
very true.
experiences too, by the way, Marilyn.
So Polly is a contactee.
Oh, yes, yes, and yes. The
So she
10 people in
understands
the desert.
what in
Yeah.
the desert,
And
in the desert.
yeah, she's a contactee where she was, had this, being in the desert with the tent people and the mantis.
The mantis beings. Okay.
Mantis being, oh, yeah. Love you too. So,
Yeah, Polly, that's very true what you're saying. Yes, I agree. And that
mhm,
makes it harder for us because we become
mhm,
we just kind of like become like almost under a cloud of our own
mhm,
thinking. And that cloud almost like it's like this, you know?
mhm.
And so then what's out here becomes we don't see it, you know, because we have to move that cloud so that we can, you know, now see what's out there. And it's great that you were able to do that and able to see that and be part, you know, be contacted.
But you see, again, it's that open mind, because right now, and again, odds are stacked against us. There's so many of us who've had amazing experiences.
Right.
I'm an experiencer. My experiences, if there are some in there that are something to be desired, thankfully, I am not in recollection of them, but I am in recollection of the better ones, the nice ones. So
Right.
there are people out there who may not be aware that they've had experiences, who may also be in fear, because on an average, we are conditioned to fear. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been some pretty cool, I've seen ET and Close Encounters. They're not too bad. But there are some films out there that people, this is their only source
That's
of
true. You're
of
right.
what the experience would be like. So
You
I
know,
don't
it's
know.
interesting you bring that up because I know what you're talking about. I've seen some of those films, and they're nothing like the experiences that I've had with actual extraterrestrials. And those films scared the living daylights out of me. And thank God that I did not, you know, attribute any reality to them. But
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, they're nothing like the actual experiences that I've had
Mhm.
with the extraterrestrials. I'm sure there are some people who have had negative experiences, so I don't want to just, you know,
No,
dispute that.
I don't discount that, because I know they're out there, like good people,
Yeah,
bad people,
exactly.
good extraterrestrials, not so good
Right,
extraterrestrials.
exactly. Yeah,
But the thing is, it's like anything else. It's not all bad, and I think that's what we need to be um, That's what we need to be aware of and be open-minded. Yes, been in survival mode for more than 2 years. I feel the change in my frequency and communication. Hmm.
Good. Hopefully that's a positive going upward frequency. That's an excellent thing if that's the case.
But see, that's something else as well. There are so many artificial frequencies that we are exposed to.
Right.
You know, back in the day, they didn't have all that. It's a matter of you were able to connect with the actual yourself, your frequency, your own vibe, or those around you. Now it's a little bit different. Like things are altered a little bit, and it interferes with our own radar, our own antennas.
I definitely think that, all the technology. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're listening then, Kira, and glad to have you here. I think that it's all the stuff that we have with all the technology makes it hard. But I do think that there is, all the, oh, awesome, Polly.
Wonderful.
I think that there's also more, of the, I don't know what they call it with the electronic, all that energy waves coming through the air.
Yeah.
That are going on. It's actually astralprojection.co.
As .ca?
DCO, sorry.
DCO. Why did that
And-
copy and pasted? I'm just saying. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
hold on.
it's
No, I'm-
outofbodytravel.org.
Okay, so it's .org?
Outofbodytravel.org.
Could that
Yes.
change it? Okay.
Yeah, and so, but all the electronic stuff I think has really increased, and I think that is making it harder for people to touch into their. We don't have the quiet, the silence. There's these frequencies and energies and stuff. You know what I mean? That are, that are going on. Good job, thank you.
Yeah. I'm on it. Must have been an old one because I was went and grabbed what I had. Oh,
So,
God.
but yeah, I think because I used to live up in the mountains of Colorado, and then I moved down to Arizona, and I'm closer to a bigger city now, and I can feel the difference. It's very different, and I think that has an impact on people. I definitely do, and so that's definitely. We need bells. I agree. Tibetan bells help me. I like Tibetan bells. Go back to our soul. I missed the second half of that.
Sorry, and redirect.
Redirect.
We support each
Support
other.
each other, which is the best. Yes,
100%.
yes, definitely. Yes.
Yes. So, in conclusion, Marilynn, in conclusion, in writing this book, what were you hoping that people will get out of it?
Well, I was hoping that people would realize that there is so much more, and that they would be open to going, taking the journey, going back in time, and touching into it, and part of the, take it, you can go to the website and download the book for free for starters. So you can do that. You can buy it if you want to get a physical copy. But if you read the book, sometimes just even opening up by being exposed to it, maybe the sacred knowledge of this Nefertiti cult will be revealed to somebody. You know what I mean? And maybe that's partly what it's about, is that what this is it's like opening up the portal to the past of what we have lost, so that we can start reclaiming it and bringing it back again. And this is part of reclaiming our secret history, reclaiming our spiritual history, and also putting back together, the fact that there is this extraterrestrial connection with our spiritual path, and that it's a good thing, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think it's a great thing, So,
yes.
Well, okay. So you have new books coming out as well. Do you want to share that news?
Yes, I do. I just released the 12th book in the Mysteries of the Redemption series, The Little Blue Nun, and a companion volume, which is a really big book called The Sutra of the Ounce. The Ounce of the Vow for the Creatures of the Earth. You kind of have to read it to get it.
No.
You can go to the website, you can download it and to find out what it's all about. They're all available now. So outofbodytravel.org, and they're up and ready to roll. So go check them out.
Wow. And you don't mess around. I'll tell you how many books do you have out?
144.
Like I said, a gazillion books. Yeah, but you say that it's just like 144, but they are very detailed books. I mean, there are so many references, there are photos, there are comparisons, there are indexes and chapters with indexes. It's just like it's incredible the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the sutra, I'm very excited about the Sutra of the Ounce.
Yes.
It's very different from anything else I've ever done. If you don't mind, I'll just tell you a little bit.
No, go crazy. Yeah.
So I was taken to this mystical scriptorium in the out-of-body travel spheres, and this text with this unique name was dropped in my lap, and then the contents of it were floating in the ethers, and I was told to inhale them. I inhaled them, and about a week later, I just suddenly started typing uncontrollably. And about 668 pages later, the Sutra of the Ounce has been born. And
I can't read a book that big in a week for sure. My head's going to go.
But it's so unique. I mean, it's so different from anything else I've ever written, but I love it. It is just so cool. And the mystical scriptorium is such a beautiful place. And I just love it. And it's, it's something that kind of came from this very holy place in the mystical spheres. And I think people are going to really enjoy it. It's something that will really provide people with a whole new way to practice their spirituality. That I presented it to a few of my friends, and they were all like, wow, everyone's like, when they first hear the name, they're like, huh? And then they read the first couple of chapters and they're like, wow. They're like, isn't that amazing? That
what a book that's this big, it's like, stop it, Marilynn. We're never gonna leave the house. Oh, but I love that. I love it though. I do. I think it's great, and you keep us thinking. And Polly says I need to start with the first one. So obviously you have to go to the website. And again, I'll put, here it is, bodytravel.org. And so
start with the Mysteries of the Redemption is the first one.
There, she's making it easy for you now.
Yes, start with that one. And feel free to pop me an email if you need any guidance on what to read from next or whatever, or if you have questions. So that's Marilynn Hughes at outofbodytravel.org, and it's on the website too. So you can always email me with any questions. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Keep it easy. This has been a lot of fun. I always love when you come on, and you guys can watch for Marilynn to return, and maybe even on Beyond the Outer Realm too, for those of you who are on the other side of the planet and watching this replay. So to everybody in chat, of course, thank you. You guys are all so amazing. I love you all. I know we've had so many people listening because I can see all the numbers coming in, and that doesn't count the audio listenership on all those servers out there. So for you guys who are just listening and not viewing, we thank you very much. So next week, guys, busy week. Monday, Two Real Cryptid Legends. Yes, that's the new show that I do with Daryl Denton and Ron Moorhead. literally two legends in the field of cryptozoology. And hello. And it's going to be another fantastic show. I mean, as last week we went 2 hours on a 1 hour show, so it was good. But this time we have Daniel and Barbara Joyner, who's going to be joining us. They live near the infamous Land Between the Lakes. God, the place is just intriguing but scary all at once. And they've had a lot of Bigfoot activity on their property. Some of the experiences differ from those, let's say, who are out in the field. So it's kind of like just, you're just living there. It's in your backyard and things just happen. You hear things, you see things. It's just incredible. So I'm dying to hear their story. So that's Monday night at 10 p.m. Beyond the Outer Realm welcomes the return of Dr. Christopher Macklin. And this time we're getting into consciousness awakenings, the anticipated planetary shift. It's going to be good because Christopher is just a whole lot of fun and just a verse and a whole lot of things. So look for that. Wednesday night, another Christopher. Sansone returns, certified past life regressionist or regression therapist and former teacher at the Hoffman Quadrinity process. And his work on past lives will astound you guys. So I was talking about his book, Soul Work Longing, a pilgrimage to your quiet power within. So he'll discuss past lives, past life regressions, and how trauma can be carried forward, and much more. And Thursday, so we welcome back Julio Consiglio. Honestly, he's just become one of my buds. I just love this guy. And I found out he doesn't live all that far from me. So this is wonderful. So this time we're just talking about his experiences with UFOs, CE5, his thoughts on ET, consciousness, things like that. We're going to compare notes. We're going to share some knowledge, have a few laughs along the way. And that will finish off the week for everybody to go off onto their weekends, all tickety-boo and happy. And that will be that. So anyway, thank you again, Marilynn, for joining me.
And thank you for having me.
Oh,
it's always fun being with you.
Thank you. Well, you're welcome to come on anytime you like. I'll always try to be entertaining. So, anyway, everybody have a terrific weekend, and make sure you catch all of our lineups tomorrow, starting with Ethereal Encounters. Then we've got Father Sean's Paranormal Ministry. We have Spirit Switchboard, the Church of Mavis, and we get into news on the flip side, and it goes on and on and on. Lots of everything for everyone. So thank you all. Good night and have a great weekend. Bye now.